right. Greetings from sunny Belgrade.
Awesome. Where's Belgrade again? Serbia?
Serbia.
Serbia, okay. Milos is here. I'm glad you're able to get to the room. Okay.
Well, I'm parked illegally in a shopping mall. I'm parked along the wall because
Uh-huh.
literally every parking garage is full here.
That is unfortunate. Good morning, Milos. How are you?
Hey,
Oh,
good morning.
Mile,
Hey, ciao. How are you?
you did show up. I'm seeing our brother later today.
Ah, very nice. Very nice. So, hello, brother. My name is Brother Milos. I'm from Falls Church, North Virginia.
Oh, all right. You're in my state.
Yeah.
I'm in Virginia Beach.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. Very nice. And my lodge is Silver Spring, 215 Maryland.
Yep.
I'm a Maryland Mason, and I'm currently serving as the Vice Master of Evangelist Chapter of DC Scottish Rite.
Oh, sweet.
Nice to meet you.
I've been to DC Valley. I got my 33rd 2 years ago.
Ah, congratulations.
And your valley did the degree, which was awesome. Of course, I hadn't seen it before because I can't see it till I get it. But yeah, y'all did an amazing job.
Thank you.
I might have met you when I was up there. I don't
Happy to hear that.
know. I met a lot of people.
No, I'm maybe we crossed our paths in the past, but maybe in the future we will.
Absolutely.
But looking forward to it.
I guess you're heading somewhere.
Of course, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Richmond Randolph Lodge has something today. It's some celebration. So a few of my guys that would normally be here, I think, will be at that. I think it was Masonic. It's some kind of Masonic day or history day for something. I saw a note for it, but anyway,
Very
there are
nice.
a lot of lodges in Virginia, John, which is where our research lodge is based, and there's a lot of lodges in Richmond that actually meet on Saturdays, or they have their district masters and wardens and stuff all on Saturdays. So even if we move our meetings, we can't seem to get the Richmond guys to show up. It's like, well, you're busy on the third and the fourth Saturday, so it's like I don't know what to do for you, but that's the unfortunate thing. So we don't get a lot of participation locally. We're trying to improve that. Most of us are coming from elsewhere in the state to have our meetings. So,
Hey, if you want to do a twinning, I'm secretary of Lodge of Research over in Alaska.
oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. By the way, it's Europe. I don't care.
Yep. It's
What's
10 in the morning. He's drinking beer. Oh my gosh.
5. It's 4 o'clock here.
Is it 4 o'clock? Okay. Yeah, it seemed like I thought daylight savings time was bad enough, but then when it affects us, because it's like Brian, it changes in the UK, and then 2 weeks later it changes here, or vice versa. So like we're 2 hours, we're way off. We usually are in sync, and then it's like we change, and then it's 2 weeks till they change. So all of those guys, you guys are like an hour ahead now. It's like, what?
Well,
just change, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it, and just.
Well, Europe was talking about getting rid of it.
Oh yeah.
But then we just didn't, or at least Bulgaria was. And then next year we're going to get rid of it. Next year.
Right. Mañana.
Yeah.
The busiest day in Spain. Mañana.
Yeah. And this is an open thing, right? People can join.
Anybody can, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I have so, all right, then I'm going to pretend to be prepared.
Okay. Yep. We're going to give a few more minutes, and people tend to dribble in within the first 5 minutes an hour. But attendance has been off this year. Honestly, I'm starting to get concerned that people just aren't as into it. I mean, I'm having fewer, but Well, what?
Well, the thing is, this was big during COVID.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think once the real lodges opened up again,
right, we lost an audience.
Yeah,
and that's understandable. I mean, I could have one every single Saturday and people would turn out. And it was actually, in a way, it's easier if it's every Saturday where you don't have to think about it. It's like, it's every Saturday. And I could get speakers, but it's like, my wife's like, you can't commit every Saturday to this. But I dropped to 2 a month. Like last year, I think we did 2 a month. And this year, actually, we did more than that. I think we closer to 3 a month last year. And it was a lot. And because I got to line up a speaker, host the thing. This is the easiest part right here. Just sitting here for an hour or so and running my mouth. Believe me, that's the easiest part. I need a production crew, so I just show up and be the talent. But it's afterwards having to clean up the video, and then it's like weeks behind where it's like, well, just get in there, spend an hour, because I got to watch the whole video mostly, and trim it a little bit. But it just takes a lot. So like this year, 2 a month, every month, and then like in June, we're not going to have one. We don't have. I have things every Saturday, and then in like October or something. So it's like most of the time we're going to have 2 a month this year, and that's fine. If I got to drop down to 1 a month, I will. But it's a matter of how busy I am. Good morning, brother Alan, who is also on the road. And morning, Kurt. Did I say morning, Kurt? I did say morning, didn't I? Morning, Kurt.
Hey, brother Chris. I don't know how you do it either, because I have a hard time making it to all the ones that you have, and I just sit here. So,
this is fine. Look, check out the white screen. Look, I got a hole in my shoulder. That's funny. Anyway, this is cool. There's no green screen. This is just what Zoom does. So, like, I can do. Let's see. Just to show you all. Where's not there? So there's my pig. The other way. There's Ham Solo. Oh, there we go. Hey, Ham Solo. So this is my office. But yeah, I think it's really cool that I don't need to have a green screen behind me. My son used to do videos all the time, and we actually bought a scaffolding for him, and so we get like a big green sheet that he could use for his videos. But now it's like the technology is better, so the computers do it better, which is very cool. So, we got more people. See, I told you, we wait a few minutes, people dribble in. So, Kurt, I want to tell you something. Good morning, Kalina. So I went and told my wife this morning, because this involves John over here. So it's 2025. A friend of mine who wants to be in my Zoom meeting, this irrelevant little Zoom meeting to talk Masonic stuff, is in Belgrade. He's 7 time zones away. He's in his car trying to get to a hotel, trying to get to a parking space so he can make it here to attend my little Zoom meeting. And he calls me on his phone, and I can answer on my phone, and he's 7 time zones away, but he's able to reach out to me for free just to tell me he's going to be late. And I'm mildly irritated that I got a Facebook call like, who the hell is calling me? Our technology is so amazing that I'm actually irritated by it. And I'm thinking, like, for God's sake, when I was in Okinawa for a year back in '87, and we had the Mars stations, and you could wait, you could sign up to call home through the radio. It's ham radio and whatever it was, crazy. But you had to wait your turn. You could talk for like 10 minutes. I could call my mom and say hi in Seattle, whatever. And it's like all you had was mail. Literal written letters to girlfriends and whatever. I'm like, if we had the internet like we do today, I'd have stayed there a few more years, because I was just missing people at home. But it's like, if we had the technology back then, I could sit anywhere in the world. If I've got internet, I don't care. Yeah. And it's amazing that because I'm one of those people, like most of y'all here, we grew up before cable, before internet, before mobile phones, before computers in every house, and we grew up without all of that technology, and we've seen it come along and how much things have changed. Then my son's born in an era where we have Blu-rays and we have DVDs and we have streaming services, and he has an iPad when he's like 5, and all this technology that he's growing up with is just there. High-speed internet is normal for him. I tell him I have to plug into a phone and use my 2400 baud modem to get onto a message board. And he's like, what are you talking about? So I think it's amazing the technology is just like, we don't even realize how I guess we don't appreciate necessarily how lucky we are. I mean, I have this stupid meeting that we have with everybody here. This is great. This is wonderful. I'm going to love your talk. I'm not diminishing your talk, but I'm saying this isn't solving hunger or anything. I mean, it's just, we're doing this because we enjoy it and it's useful, but it's like the technology that lets us do this simple, stupid thing of having a Zoom meeting just by putting the word out on the web and saying, hey guys, show up. And I got guys in freaking Europe can just show up, guys from Australia tuning in at 1 a.m. And it's like, hey, no big deal. Oh, hey, Graham made it. And it's like 1 a.m. in Australia. And I remember the flight that took me to get all the way out to Hong Kong and to Japan. And one of our guys went to Australia. So I know how far away that is from here. And it's like, oh, yeah, Graham's there. 1 a.m, he's here. And it's just at our fingertips, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? You got to step back once in a while and go, all this technology is right here. So are we using it for any useful purpose? Or is it just sort of, I don't know, just where my mind goes sometimes. I'm a nerd. It's where my mind goes. Anyway.
We probably appreciate it a lot more, though, because we did, I was in Germany where I couldn't afford my own phone, and I'd wait till I had enough 5-mark coins to feed into the phone to call my parents, and I still remember the day when it was from AOL, you've got mail.
Yep.
That was cool. Now people take it for granted, but we appreciate it.
Well, I think we do. But it's just amazing what I'm just grateful. Honestly, I'm grateful that I'm able to do this, which is so niche and such. I'm never going to be a big fat YouTuber with millions of followers and all this. If I reach 20 or 100 people over the course of a year, I'm happy. But bringing Masonry and greater Masonic education to other brothers all around the world, it's just amazing that we can do it. And I love the fact this technology lets me do that. I really think it's an awesome thing. I don't want to keep doing it as long as people show up. But it just kind of blows me away sometimes if you think about how this just wasn't even an option 10 years ago. It's just like, it was unthinkable. And now it's like, hey, now we're bitching that aren't enough people showing up. But it's like, but anyway, people are dribbling in, so I'm just kind of running the clock here. Morning, Brother London. How are you?
Doing okay.
All right. Good to see you again. And Brother Tripp. Hey, there he is. Good to see you. Missed you last Saturday. And you're on mute.
Okay, yeah, I was bummed about that.
Oh, that's all right. We had a good meeting, but we missed you. Good morning, Kalina. I didn't get to talk to Kalina any. Just trying to say hi to everybody. Hello, Kalina, if you want to unmute and say hello. Or not. So let me do my notes since we're a little after 10. At least we got 8 people. That's better than the 3 we had when we started. And I was sitting there with John and Milos, and I was like, okay, I got one guy and I got the speaker. So like John, a month, I think it was in March or April.
Yeah.
I had the brother from Romania. Was it Bulgaria? Yeah, it was Bulgaria. Demeter.
Flamin?
Huh? Demeter. Yeah. I can look up his name, but anyway, he showed up and he and I were the only ones on the call. And we sat until like 15 after. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have you talk to just me. It's just not fair. I need to have at least a couple people in the audience. So we rescheduled and we redid it. We had like 10 people for the second time. So it's like I said, this year it's kind of been hit or miss. We haven't had as many people showing up, and I don't know what to do to address that. But we got a decent amount.
Peter and I have a little thing. We have a thing going on.
Oh, okay.
About offline. Hey,
okay.
Flamin doesn't come anymore, does he?
Who?
Flamin.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, it was Demeter who was the speaker. Anyway, let me do the thing because it's 10 after 10. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Douglas. I am the Worshipful Master of Virginia Research Lodge, number 1777 in Williamsburg, or Highland Springs, Virginia. I'd like to welcome everyone to our unstated meeting on May the 24th, 2025. Welcome to everybody here. I'm putting a link in the chat in case any of y'all are not in our things, but most of y'all are. If you're watching me on YouTube, several weeks in the future, I finally got around to uploading this. So I'm talking to the future now. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate it. We have a new Facebook or a new YouTube channel about a year ago. I switched everything. I have my own YouTube channel where I was hosting all this stuff, and then I made one specifically for the Research Lodge. So at some point, someone else can take it over or whatever, but it's branding more for the Research Lodge, not my own stuff. But I have in the chat our Facebook group, which has all of our all of these meetings are posted there, and our all of our papers every week are there. Then the website, which I'm actually working on revamping, so that's going to be cool. But we have the Research Lodge website where you can find all the papers and other neat things, our YouTube channel, and then my email. If you're not in any of those things, if you want to email me and get on the mailing list, you're welcome to do so. Anyway, so welcome everybody here. I wanted to say last Saturday, Virginia Research Lodge had our last meeting at Babcock Temple in Highland Springs. We've been meeting there for 60 years, 50 to 70 years. We've been there for 70 years, since 1952. But we're looking to move to the Masonic home of Virginia, and hopefully that'll get a larger crowd, and our brothers living in the home will be able to come and attend. So I'm excited about us moving that way. Everybody seems to be in favor of it, so we're going that direction. So a lot going on. Next month, we have the Grand Master's official visit to the Research District. Every month in June, every Saturday, there's a lodge meetings. George Washington, and there are all a bunch of meetings in June, so we won't have another unstated in June. The next one will be in July, but I'll talk about that at the end of the meeting. Anybody have any announcements or anything they want to bring up before I turn it over to John? No? Okay. All right. Brother John Meek, please introduce yourself. Give us as many of your titles as you feel like giving. Are you going to be presenting, or are you just talking?
What do you mean?
Are you going to be like a slideshow or anything?
No. I'm not that technologically advanced. You're lucky I have electricity in this room.
Okay, well,
all that electrical stuff's the work of the devil.
Yes, well, I remember to actually do it before to set the setting before I asked you, because I normally forget. And you're like, okay, I'm going to share. I don't even know how to do those things. Oh, okay. Well,
so
we'll have a class.
I'm very
John.
simple. I'm the guy that plays with. I'm a guy who plays with candles.
All right.
Okay. So those of you who don't know me, I'm Right Worshipful Brother. Oh, before I get too far in this is a Masonic lecture, isn't it? Anything I say is my own opinion. Certainly no Grand Lodge that endorses or does not endorse what I say, and I'm not going to victimize them by asking anyway. So that aside, my name is Right Worshipful Brother John Meek. Among other things, I guess, if I can remember half of them, Grand Representative to Russia and Bulgaria for the Grand Lodge of Illinois. And in the groups that are pertinent to this talk, I am conductor of novices of the London College of Adepts in the SRIA in London. I'm a member of, and I'm past secretary of Metropolitan College No. 1 in London. I am also a member of the Illinois Lodge of Research, and I am a charter member and current secretary of the Alaskan Lodge of Research. So, good brother Douglas, email about lodge twinning coming soon. So, I am also an associate member of the European Society, the European Society for the Study of Western Esotericism. I have keynote lectured at the annual meeting of the Illinois Lodge of Research. I keynoted at the Grand Lodge of Russia, St. John meeting last December in Moscow, and I lectured last year, and I'm lecturing again this year at the academic conference Chayu Mephisto in Brno, and that's in Czech. Now, in my background, besides Masonry, is to give you a basis of how I work here. At the root of it, I am an American Mason. However, I'm involved in several other jurisdictions, and I'm involved in several other orders, primarily French leading orders. So anything I say today will be colored by this, by that French influence, good or bad. It definitely will be. And the topic for today's talk is the Masonic Lodge as sacred space, more particularly the creation, maintenance, and projection of sacred space within the context of Freemasonry. And even though I am academically involved, that's the other thing. I'm a peer-reviewed author and I run a publishing house. I've published books by known authors such as Kevin Wheeler over in the States and Mike Osborne over in England, and more to follow. So even though I'm academically involved, if you put a gun to my head and ask me what I do, I'm more of a practitioner. But as Aquinas would say that philosophy is a handmaiden of theology, I would say that academe is the handmaiden of practical esotericism. Because you should know what you're doing, but at the same time, it's more important to do it. Now, that being said, sacred space, first we have to define it. And sacred space within any esoteric concept, and especially Freemasonry, because let's not forget, Freemasonry is a multifaceted diamond. It appeals to many different kinds of men. Some guys are good for charity, and those are Shriners and especially Grotto. For those who are in the Grotto, special hello. Widows, sons, and that sort of thing. There's a charitable outlet. For historians, there's the historical outlet. For the guys who like all the practical symbolism, you have ritualists. But there's also, at the very heart and core of Masonry, something that glues it together. Now, it's not for everybody. Most of the guys don't get into this. But at the very heart and core of Freemasonry, there is an esoteric aspect, that philosophical aspect, that practical spiritual aspect. This is at our heart, and everything else bleeds out from there. That said, again, not everybody has to do this. Some guys are perfectly good as Shriners, and they're better at doing charity than I could ever be. And that is as important as the esoteric aspect, because without the physical outreach, the esoteric aspect is actually cancerous. You have to have a good practical expression, again in the form of charity, of that spiritual development and growth that we're trying to deal with, that we're trying to do within the esoteric aspect. Now, that esoteric aspect deals with the concept of sacred space. Sacred space, as I define it, is that when you walk, for instance, when you walk into the lodge or a celebrant walks into the circle, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're still in the real world. I'm still sitting in Serbia. But the best way to describe it is you put one foot out into the spiritual dimension, you put one in while you're maintaining 1 foot here. You blend those two realities. And this is what we're seeking in the Masonic Lodge meetings, not the meetings themselves, not the business meetings. I'm not talking where we fight over bills and eat green beans. As important as that is, we all love our green beans and bills. But that's a maintenance meeting. What I'm talking about is particularly our degree work. Because don't forget, what do we call Blue Lodge? In America, we call it, of course, Blue Lodge Masonry, but we also call it the Working Lodge. Why? Because that's where we work to make Masons and to perfect Masons. And what do the appendant bodies do? They deepen what we've learned at the craft lodge level. But in order to do that, you have to break open a man's hearts and minds. And that can only be done within the context of sacred space. Now, every jurisdiction does it differently. The Americans like the Preston Webb, right, which is close to the emulation. The lodges I'm usually hearing in Bulgaria and stuff, you'll see mostly what they call German AFAM, which is a modernization of the Schroeder rite, much more hermetic. You have the Swedish rite, which is a completely different animal. We all do our stuff differently, but the points are all the same. And in context of the talk, let's talk about starting with creations, because it's creation, maintenance, and projection. Creation of the sacred space, the opening of the lodge. Brother Douglas, everybody here is pretty much an American Mason, except for Kalina, correct?
I believe so.
Okay, so let's focus on American Masonry. And before anybody jumps, my jurisdictions have very liberal definitions of what Masonic secrecy is, and I don't see a problem describing an opening and a closing of a lodge. So at the opening, of course, we get it's been 8 years since I've seen a Preston Webb, so if I make a mistake, please correct me. Basically, you have the collection of the password with the deacons going up the two sides, getting it, and then passing it to the master. And that's the purge of the lodge. And then you have, at the order of the master and the assistance of the wardens, the opening of the greater and lesser lights, the arrangement of the Bible squares, the arrangement of the Bible square and compasses, and the turning on of those three candles or light bulbs. This is where you create the sacred space. Those deacons setting what they're doing on one level, of course, they're getting the pass, of course, but on a more spiritual level, they're setting the parameters, just as the celebrant in some orders will set a circle at the opening of his ritual. We set squared parameters and squared for a Masonic reason, but that keeps things out. Okay. Then when the opening of the lights occurs, that's opening the lodge to the divine. So we defend and we open. We defend and we transcend the spiritual. We're still in that lodge hall, like, for example, in my case, in Wheeling, Illinois. But at the same time, we have one foot in that spiritual plane. We've opened ourselves. And that opening is very important. And actually, if I forget, Douglas, remind me, sorry, go back to this later, with the opening and closing during a stated meeting. So you open the lodge, you create it. Maintenance. The primary form of maintenance that we have in Freemasonry is the making of the Masons, which, as we know in our rite, is 3-stepped. And I'm not going to go into the Sussex fudge, that's a whole different thing. But for practical purposes, 3 steps. You know, the entered apprentice, your fellow craft, and your master mason. And it's actually, by the way, one initiatic action broken up into 3 parts. If you follow the arc of what's going on, it's actually one big thing. So, anyway, that's the maintenance. The maintenance is making of the Mason, of educating the Mason, of mentoring the Mason, because we're not only adding a new guy to our rosters, we're not only growing in numbers and dues collections, you know, secretary got to think of these things. We're not only growing in numbers of men and dues collections, we're also growing that spiritual aspect, not only within ourselves and the candidate, but also within that corporate body that is the lodge. And you can also make the argument, the Grand Lodge, even though that I'm a little with, but certainly a lodge. Why? There's a tradition, a very old and venerable tradition of corporate groups and even places having their own spirits that grow and mature over time through activity or lack of activity or whatever. And this is called an egregore. An egregore is that thought form, that artificial spiritual being that is born when an organization starts, and it grows and matures as the members work as individuals, but especially when they come back and they work as corporate individuals. And when I say work as individuals in the Masonic context, that could be going to the grotto. They could be reading over the degree work and meditating on the philosophical points. This becomes a lot more blatant in other orders, but we have our own form of it too. So you're doing this individual stuff, but then that also feeds into the corporate body of the lodge, growing that spiritual being that's the heart and soul of that corporate entity. That's, again, in my case, DC Gregier Lodge, or the Virginia Lodge of Research. And you can arguably feel this when you go into the place. Like if you go into some of these old lodge halls and you can just feel the place. That's argued to be an example of this. And here's the thing. Egregores, just as they grow and strengthen, they can also become sick and even die. And you'll hear this, and I agree with it. You'll see this in the life cycle of a lodge. Lodge opens up, starts up, tons of guys join, they have a renaissance, tons more. And then for whatever reason, could be anything, could just be guys moving out to the area, or it could be infighting or something equally cancerous. You'll see the lodge start having problems, and then all of a sudden it dies real quickly. I've seen that firsthand, where the lodge is okay, it's starting to have problems, and boom, it just shelves and dies. Miserable. And you can argue that's the egregore reacting to what the individuals are doing, the individual members are doing, because don't forget, we're all part of that. So that's the creation. And I'm sorry, forgive me, that's the maintenance, is the making of the Mason. And there's also the aspect of the stated meetings, the maintenance, and the brother, and the dinners afterwards, or the guys going out to the bar, or whatever it is. It's a big thing in London. The maintenance, because we're not just a bunch, again, Masonry is a diamond. Some of us are esotericists, some of us are Shriners, some of us are several different things. So while the esotericists are in our little corner concocting all sorts of crazy ideas, the other guys are doing their thing. But we also come together at social events. For example, in Europe, we'll have the dinner after the meeting, with imbibing of drinks and a full dinner. And at least in my lodges in the States, there was a dinner beforehand and cake and coffee after. I admittedly enjoy the European version more. But that builds the egregore. Why? Because that builds the brotherhood. That builds that fraternity. And that's one thing that these corporate bodies, these lodges, these orders, these tabernacles, whatever you're going to call them, it's one thing they do. They offer a brotherhood, a mutual shared love, a support system. So you're not out there on your own, either with esoteric practices or with charitable works. Because anybody who's done charity on their own without structure behind you will know how hard it is, just like anybody who's what they call a solo practitioner. They know how hard that is. These organizations provide that brotherly support. And one thing that maintains it are those fun activities. Go to the bar. There's one thing some of the guys and I do informally. We meet at a bar actually, the funny thing is, Actually, if I say what kind of bar it is, I'll give it away, and I don't want to get the guy in a bad position. We meet at one of the bars in Sofia, and we discuss different things. You know, some are directly Masonic, some are not, but that builds the brotherhood. And so that's a form of support. Another very important form of support, and this really gets in many ways poisoned, is the stated meeting. I fall asleep during stated meetings probably more than anybody else. I hate them with a burning passion in my soul. That said, one thing that goes on in every stated meeting is the opening and the closing. Same opening and the same closing that happens at the degree work happens at the stated meetings. And those are the meetings where we pay the bills. In addition to the esoteric aspect, of setting the perimeters and calling down the divine, another aspect of it is it operates as a cliff notes. It operates as almost an outline reminder of the lessons we learned. Not all the lessons, of course, but some of the lessons we've learned in those degrees, in those steps that we took when we joined. And they also set the perimeter and call down the divine. So we also have that spiritual aspect in every single meeting, whether we remember it or not, or realize or not, it is there. And all of this maintains this egregore. All of this maintains the sacred space that we established at the opening. And what do we do with all this? Projection. And I'm not talking projection in the esoteric term only. We project as Masons. What do? We build the temple, that spiritual temple, not made of hands, in our hearts. But that old axiom, as above, so below, if we're building a temple in our hearts, we better be building something physical as well. In fact, our brothers, or maybe even more accurately, our cousins, the alchemists, your operative, whether they're spagyric, mineral, or metallic alchemists, it doesn't matter. The point is the same. They do their maintenance and projection, well, arguably also initiation, maintenance, and projection by way of their chemical workings. We do basically the same thing, but very different methods. Their symbols are chemical. Our symbols are construction and architecture. We're building something internal as at the same time we're building something external. It could be the kid with Asperger's getting the dental care for the grotto. It could be the kid with orthopedic problems with the Shriners. It could be the dyslexic kid for the Scottish Rite and the eye clinic for the commandery. Doesn't matter. We're still building. And this is the projection. Why? Because as we're building something physical, we're building something spiritual. And if we do this with an active mind, I'm helping this kid now. Why am I helping this kid? Not only because he needs help, but because I see this as my brother, the brotherhood of man under the fatherhood of God. This is my brother in desperate need. If you do it with that mentality, you're also building that spiritual temple. Just as the alchemists are refining themselves spiritually as they do the chemical refinement, we're building our spiritual temple as we're building the physical temple. Because don't forget, even our bodies are temples, as it is said. So we're building up that physical temple of that kid or whatever it is. That's the projection out into the world. We take that initiatic action that brings us into the lineage of Masonry, for whatever it is, of the handed down teaching, of that egregore. We maintain it and then we project it out. And if we project it, everybody asks what's a Mason, and it's simple. A mason's a builder. And if we don't project it out and we don't build something physical out there, we're fooling ourselves. We're not building anything interior. Anything that we're building interior without building the exterior is simply mental acrobatics. It's nothing real. It's just a figment of our imaginations. And that is why the projection is important, of course, for the person receiving it, but that's why it's important for us. And that's the further outward maintenance. But as with everything else, we must close. And that brings to the closing of the lodge. As we opened it, so we close it. We opened it with the setting of the perimeters, opening the lights. We close it with the closing of the lights and the order of the master. And at the final hit of the hammer, hit of the gavel, that dispels the parameters. In some orders, they do different things, but there's always a closing of the lights and a dispelling of the parameter. And that action brings us back into the real world 100%. And as we say, we go back into our daily labors. But that's the thing. We go back out with what we've been given during this meeting. And just, how do I say it? And just as a side note, this isn't really with sacred space, but this is an important side note. Being clothed, wearing our work clothes. On our Masonic Facebook groups, we often hear arguments about should we wear suits, should we wear jeans. My attitude, you're lucky I'm wearing clothing at all, but that's me. When we're working, how do we enter a lodge? Properly clothed. What's properly clothed? With an apron. That apron is not operational at all. It has absolutely no practical bearing. But that also is one little thing that assists us to go into that sacred space. We don't wear it out into the real world because we're in real space. We're in the real hard world sitting in downtown Belgrade. But that apron is one symbolic piece of clothing that helps remind us that we're in the sacred space. Some orders will use an alb, the big long robe. It could be white, it could be red, whatever. Some use capes and masks, and you name it. If it's crazy, some orders are using it. But we use the apron. Why? Because that's a reminder that we are in a sacred space. And it contributes it. That's its role in all this, as a reminder. But the irony is we take it off when we go out and do the real work. So sacred space, whether it's in Masonry or whether it's in Martinism or Rosicrucianism, any of this other stuff, sacred space is really nothing more than us participating in the fullest way possible in that initiatic experience, in that esoteric, whatever that means, experience, with one foot firmly in matter, one foot firmly in spirit, one hand up, one hand down, as above, so below. We've got one foot planted in each plane, the physical plane and the spiritual plane. But as with everything, that needs to be created, maintained, grown, projected, and defended, as it is in the closing. Does anybody have any questions?
Anyone? I'll let somebody else go first.
You.
I really enjoyed that. That was, you covered a lot of things, and we had a previous session on sacred space in the previous Zoom. I want to go back and rewatch that one and compare the two. Something you maybe that previously, and I think you were around for that several years ago, someone mentioned sacred spaces, and I was going to have a speaker on it. I found a speaker on it, but the idea, because what we do here in this Zoom meeting. Now, this is a Zoom meeting. And by the way, if you're watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe. See, we're a Zoom meeting. We say things like that. That's the only ritual. That's it. The only ritual in a Masonic Zoom meeting is, if you're watching me on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And y'all say, so mote it be, amen. But that's
Shameless self-promotion.
I mean, it's a Zoom meeting, right? We're not for those of you who haven't heard me tell the story, the reason we're calling an unstated meeting is during COVID in 2020, I was scheduled to be the guest speaker at Research Lodge. I was junior deacon, and I was going to give a talk, and I was going to give a talk in the Grand Lodges of France. And I spent a year working on that paper, and I was chomping at the bit to give that paper. And I was saving it for Research Lodge, and I couldn't give it anywhere else because I promised to give it there first. And come August of 2020, COVID was in full swing. We couldn't have a meeting. I was excited about August stated that we weren't allowed to have a dang meeting. And I asked the master, well, I'm going to go ahead and have a Zoom meeting. And why don't we just do it on Zoom and I'll give the talk? And he said that was fine. And the Grand Lodge had been very clear, you are not allowed to do ritual. You are not allowed, this is not a stated meeting. So it goes without saying, because we're physically not in the lodge, this is not a stated meeting. So it's unstated, but this is not a stated meeting. So this was our unstated meeting, and that's where I got the name from, and that's what we've done all this time. So the point is, we have these unstateds. There's no ritual. You come and go. We have it at a set time. We have a Masonic speaker. We do stuff we do in lodge without all the ritual. But we have a fellowship that we've grown between me and you, John, and Kurt, and Alan, and John London, and Brother Aday, and several other brothers who are here on a regular basis that I've gotten to know only through Zoom. Except Brother Alan and I finally got to meet in person. But most of us, we've only met through Zoom. And we have a camaraderie here. We have something special going on here in my silly little Zoom meetings that is as strong as anything you feel in a Blue Lodge. So we create a sacred space here. And I was trying to figure out how to do more to encourage that and make this more of a sacred space. And then I found the guy who gave a talk on the sacred spaces, and here you are doing another talk. So it's just interesting. We're Masons. I'm constantly exploring. I guess what I'm going at is I'm constantly exploring what is the purpose of this thing I'm doing here that I've been doing for 4 years now, 5 years now. What's the end goal? It was just because we couldn't meet during COVID. Well, now we can go back to lodge. Do we have to have this? But I'm connecting the brothers all over the world with this thing. So there's something to it. Where are we going with it? Is this all it's going to be? Can there be more to it? Is this the future of Masonry? I don't know. I just know that we have something unique, and I'm playing around with it. That's why I'm constantly running my mouth like this, because I'm trying to figure out loud, where are we going with this? And if you watch us on YouTube. There's all the previous ones are in the library there. You can see where I keep going like this and waxing philosophical. Like, where are we going with this? Where do we want to take this? Because I don't know. I just know there's something deeper here that we've tapped into. And John, you're talking about that. There's some special thing about a lodge meeting that's different than a Rotary meeting or a PTA meeting or a book club or whatever. It's,
careful what you say about books.
Well, but I mean, they don't have that certain something, but you have it. I know. In Masonry, you have it in Rosicrucianism, you have it in Martinism, you have it in all the other things you're into. And I guess that's what I'm trying to get at, and maybe you've touched on that a little here, is what's that something special about those meetings and make them different from just a city council meeting? Malos?
Well, it said
Yeah, Milos had a hand up, sorry.
Yes.
Milos?
Brother Douglas, thank you for this great presentation and Zoom meeting. It's my first time. Besides, I'm a Virginia resident for last 18 years in Maryland Mason, and I really like it. This is one of the second or third presentation I'm here heard by Brother John. But I have a question for Brother John Meek.
Okay.
Since you are present in Balkan and European states, in Western and Eastern states, and you're American Mason, and you're more often in my home country of Serbia. Can you explain us or tell us your view about how is spiritual grow or esoteric teachings or hermetic teachings in, for example, in Balkan states or Serbia or Bulgaria compared to us over here in United States of America?
Well, I'm a transplant, so the local Balkans in the meeting would know better than me, but I'll tell you what I know. There is a fundamental difference. The West seems to like orders more. You know, what order are you a member of? Well, I'm the Royal Order of Buffaloes. Ooh-ah, that's the Western things. Over here, it seems to be handed down more through families or mentors, and in a lot of time, I mean, it seems like the men do one thing, the women do the other thing, and it's all handed down. Whereas we in the West, we hand stuff down, but we put it within the structures of these orders. And I always like to say it this way: why are there orders? Why is there secrecy? It's so you don't hurt yourself while you're learning things. It's a different method. I think if you ask me what's being done over here, I think this is an older method. Whether it's but you have the old women, you have the old Babas and the old Dedos and stuff doing their stuff. Over here you have the Vlachi and stuff. This is a much older stuff, or I'm sorry, this is a much older method of doing it, of maintaining, of handing it down. It's all word of mouth. And you watch the old girl, you watch the old guy, and that's how you learn. With us, yeah, kind of, sort of, but we have it in the degree rituals. We actually have, to a greater extent, written records. This might be going way far afield. I do think there is a connection, at least between some of the French orders through some of the French through Martinism, that goes directly back to Bogomilianism from over here. And we can fight whether it's Macedonia, Bulgaria, Serbia, or all three, or none of the above. Doesn't matter. It's from this part of the world. I do think you can make that argument that a lot of what we're doing now. Okay, let me take that back. A fair amount of what we're doing does come back here to the Balkans, with more mystical, more openly esoteric forms of Christianity. Because if you walk into the churches over here, you'll see. Now, before I say this, I'm not going to go down the conspiracy theory road of the Illuminati. This is a whole. You want that? We'll get our tinfoil hats and talk about that. But the symbol itself, the eye and the triangle, you'll see that on the deacon doors in a lot of Orthodox churches. And you will see the eye and the triangle throughout different orders, including every once in a while you'll see it in Freemasonry over here. So you will see connections. Now, are these historically tied connections, or are they just something somebody saw while they were over and said, hey, that's cool, we're going to put it in the ritual that I'm writing right now? We ultimately don't know. But if you follow the ideologies of the French, the mystical French, the esoteric French, there is a finger pointing back to the Balkans for sure. that has very strenuous ties over to the local practices, but those are more practical, less mystical. You know, what the Babas are doing, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Do you have anything to add? Because you're from over here. Do any of the Balkans have anything to add?
Well, I don't know. There is a lot of Bulgarian Masons from Bulgaria present here in Virginia and Maryland or DC. There or Romanians. There is a good number of them, and they're really trying to be together, meet together, or inviting each other to their meetings or in their lodges. I was with many of them, but there is no any Serbians. I met one guy. He was here in Alexandria, Washington lodge, but he moved out to Boston, Massachusetts. So there is there is only the highest number is Bulgarians, and they're really doing good job. Like Brother Douglas mentioned, Brother Dimitar Mavrov, I think that's the brother from Alexandria W22 Lodge. Great brother, a lot of knowledge. He writing books. He's an artist. Really, really good brothers. I really have a good experience with that. With anyone, Americans, any other brothers.
Them too.
So, but I like it.
Well, this is another thing. This is another thing you're talking. Why are the Romanians and the Bulgarians more open, and that you don't see a whole lot of Serbs? Well, let's look at the culture over here. The widow's sons a few years back had their motorcycles blessed at Rilla Monastery, and over here I was sitting with some brothers, and they're like, "Why are you wearing that hat?" You know, I have that Pearl Harbor Lodge hat. Why are you wearing that? You're gonna get us all. You're gonna get us fingered. You're gonna get us in trouble. You know, and you know this from a year or two back how quiet some of these guys, some of the Serbs are. It's a cultural thing.
Yeah,
and I do think a lot of that has a lot to do with how the religions are expressed over here. The Bulgarian Orthodoxy is a little bit looser than the Serbian Orthodoxy.
I will give you an example. There was an American Serbian brother from Virginia, from Alexandria, and he was Alexandria Scottish Rite member, and he recently passed away a few months ago, and he's Orthodox Serbian faith. And when he passed away, they did a ceremony called celebration of his life. And there was a Serbian Orthodox priest knew him, and he approached to his wife and said, "Oh, I didn't know that David is a Mason, so I cannot do the funeral service for him because Serbian Orthodox Church is against Masonry." It's so different. So.
Oh, I got the talk. Too. You know where I was living before I moved back to Chicago. The priest, very good friend of mine, very good friend of mine. Man, when I joined the lodge, he was mad. How could you do that? That's devil worship. It's a heresy. It's syncretism. Yeah. And I think that's why you don't see a whole lot of Serbs.
Not at all.
That's the thing. It's tied into the religion and the culture. It's not going to do you anything good to be open. That's why there's only like one or two guys that are completely open about it.
Yeah, that's
there's
why.
More, but you know what I mean.
Yes, but to be open, I'm glad there is a American Virginia brothers or other brothers from United States. So wherever I go to some Serbian conference or ceremony or festival or church, I don't care. I always wear my Masonic or Scottish Rite or Blue Lodge lapel pin, and I always have something Masonic on me, a ring or my plates or something. Man, they don't like it. I don't care. Not my business.
Well,
so that's who I'm at. Yeah.
But that's sorry.
No, I said like that's what I am. I don't care if they like it or they don't.
Oh no,
like
I'm the same way. You know, when I come over here, the only reason I don't wear it is for those guys. If I'm driving through, I'll wear it. I wear my widow's son's vest all over Europe. I don't
Yeah.
care. You know, but that's the other thing for the guys here and the guys listening in Radio Land in a week or two. That's, a lot of the Europeans will ask, why are the Americans wearing T-shirts and hats and bumper stickers and my favorite tattoos? What I was taught is that you always have something on you. So that if there's a brother or a sister for that matter, one of the Masonic women, the wives, the whatever, the wives, girlfriends, daughters, whatever, if they need something, they'll know they can go to you for help.
Yes. Yes.
That's why, and I guess I'm saying this more to the Europeans than the Americans right now. That's why it's so important to wear a Masonic T-shirt or hat or something. It's not to be the obnoxious American running down the street. There actually is a purpose to it.
Yes.
That's why you have the rings. That's why it was the opposite in the sense that during the wars, guys were wearing Masonic jewelry so they would get help or wouldn't get killed, or they could get a message back to the wife or whatever. But that's where all that comes from. It has a practical purpose.
Yes.
All right.
Anyway, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Milos. Do we have other questions about the talk or about sacred spaces? Any other brother want to chime in?
It occurs to me, you've got, in the Masons at least, you've got the transition going, and then you reverse it to close.
Yeah.
And a lot of other organizations have a much more abbreviated transition. I don't have much experience with other organizations outside of Masonry on that. Sounds like you do. I was curious to know just how much of that there is.
Well, every group that's going to be doing something like this is going to have an opening and closing. With a lot of the other orders, those are part of the secrecy. Let me think how I can do this.
Well, how long to open? Is it as involved or
how
shorter?
long to open?
Yeah. Roughly the same amount of time, or
SRIA, it's 5 minutes maybe, and to close it's 2. A Martinist meeting, 5-ish, 10-ish minutes, that kind of thing. But then again, though once you step out, okay. Here's the other thing. SRIA is it's Masonic adjacent, so they're very structured in what they do. Oh, for the Americans, SRIA is SRICF. They're more structured, but once you get out into some of these other orders, the non-Masonic Rosicrucians, Martinism, non-Masonic CBCS, that kind of stuff, one order will be radically different from the other. I mean, it's like Masonry. There's things everybody kind of agrees on, but after that, there are variations. But my gut, I mean, that's the other thing. I don't keep track of time. Open the book, fire up the incense, and get rolling. 5 or 10 minutes for Martinism. Closing up 2 to 5. Because don't forget, when you're Martinism and Rosicrucian are more blatantly Christian, so I have to go into that direction to make the comparison. When you're opening in those bodies, especially Martinism, you're calling down the divine. Okay, so you do this in humility, you do this with gentleness. You don't say, hey, kiddo, come on in and take a seat. No, there's a way to do it. You have to and part of the reason rituals take time is when people write rituals, they know the guys doing them will take a couple of minutes to get into that mental space. You're not going to flip a switch, brothers, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country, and be in that space right away. They know it takes a couple of minutes. to warm up the engine. So that's taken into account that, so openings are going to be longer. Closing, you're already there. You just got to say, hey, thanks and have a good night. Let's go. The one is an invitation and getting yourself into that state of mind. The other one is saying thanks, have a good night. These are two different actions, and that's why you have a length variation.
Very good.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Please.
So, as in our temple allegory, as we progress through the different degrees in Freemasonry, both in the Blue Lodge and yes, in other rites, we have this concept of going deeper and deeper into the temple. We start out in the outer court, so we go into the
outer metal chamber and then inner. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, is there a difference between are there like different levels of sacred space, and how does that develop as we
That's a good
go forward
question.
in consciousness?
I would say, okay, number one, I'm a firm believer that the degree work is one action. Okay. So for us, we're Preston. You're Preston Webbright, right? Standard American. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Preston Webbright is basically 3 degree. You go into emulation, they're a little bit more snugly with the Holy Royal Arch and marking everything. It's important to us, but not. Them. It's like you're a Mason, but you really should have this. Us, it's like, well, you can do York, you can do Scottish, whatever. So that'll be dealt with separately. I'm dealing 1, 2, 3 American. I would say it's all one function. I would say it's the same space objectively. However, subjectively, you're more open to it if the mentoring is done right. If that makes sense.
It does.
And
yeah.
as far as the appendant bodies, now this is where I get my mouth in trouble with everybody. When, the old question, okay, I got my 3rd degree, now what do I join, York or Scottish, right? My first question is, what right did your lodge work? If you're, okay, we're picking on the Americans. If you're in Louisiana, in one of those, whatever district that is at the Scottish Rite, join the Scottish Rite. And if you get around to it, then join the York Rite, if you want to bother. For the Preston Webb guys, join the York Rite. Go all the way up. Well, let's say it this way. At the bare minimum, go through the Royal Arch. Bare minimum. But you really should go all the way up because that fills in the blanks. Like the crypt. Are you a York Rite Mason?
Yes.
Okay. So, the crypt fills in the story, and the commandery puts back things that were actually taken out at the Sussex Agreement. Very broad brushstrokes. There's other stuff added in, but you know where I'm going with that. So those, because they're unification in Anglo-American Masonry, and this is my thought on it, there was a breakage in the degree progression. I do agree with that. There's 3 degrees in Masonry plus the Holy Royal, including the Holy Royal Arch. There's 3, but there's really 4. Okay, that's my mindset for the Anglo-American Masonry. If you come over here and do the Schroeder stuff, the German AFM, there's only 3. Period. There's no need to join anything if you're a Schroeder Rite Mason. You have that rectified Rite Lodge now in DC. Mille, what's going on with that rectified Rite Lodge? Have you heard about that?
Yeah, yes. I was there on their meeting last year. Officially, I know their worshipful master. I think it's brother secretary of the Grand Lodge of DC, Adam Goldman, worshipful master of that lodge.
Yeah.
And I like the ritual. I was there last year, and what I heard from the past Grandmaster friend of mine, Jacob Bresman, he told me they're meeting 5 times a year in Potomac Lodge in Georgetown, DC.
See, I'm not a Masonic CBCS, and I've never seen the first 3 degrees. But
They were,
they,
I think they were practicing that time when I was there. I think they were practicing 2nd degree, and
okay.
there was there was a brother present from Grand Lodge of Belgium, or Grand
Oh, he was
Representative
the
of the Grand
inspector.
Lodge.
Yeah, he was playing
Inspector,
inspector.
yeah. So
Yeah.
they passed the ritual, but it's beautiful. It's a little bit different from the regular Blue Lodge meetings or rituals, and I love it. So I will go back again. I'm not their member, but I will visit their meeting next time for sure.
Are they also doing, are they doing the entire, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are they doing all 8 grades? Do
I
they have
think they're
the,
doing 3 grades only.
they're only doing the first 3. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk.
Yes.
But rectified right is, that is actually an 8 grade system. 1 through 4 is the outer first 3. Then it's was it Knight of St. Andrew, Squires, then it's Squire, Novice, CBCS, Professed, and Grand Professed. But the CBCS is actually the operating grade if you go through the full inner order. That's a 8 degree system. Swedish Rite is a 10 degree system. But so what happened with the Anglo-Americans is we cut it at 3. I mean, it was a compromise, of course, and it needed to be done. But I also think it made the Blue Lodge limp in a lot of ways, because we don't have those last degrees, even if they were originally meant for past masters. That's fine. A lot of this stuff is. A lot of the inner orders are. But it should have been maintained as an integral system. That's how it was written. That's how it should have been. But again, I understand why, and it was necessary. So the sacred space is objectively the same. However, there's a different depth of openness. You're more mature, so you're more open to it. Because what does initiation do? I always say initiation opens the heart and the mind of the person so that they can understand and contemplate these symbols that they're being presented with now. Okay, Blue Lodge, I mean, Preston Webb is very pedestrian. But if as you go along, things get a little bit more interesting. We'll say it that way. So yeah. So I think, and this is another tangent, but I think we as American Masons should be more present. We should be more watching what these guys are coming into before we give them petitions for the pendant bodies. And this is exactly what I was referring to before, where I get my mouth in trouble. That Scottish Rite kid should start with the Scottish Rite appendant body. Go straight, when he's ready, go from 3 to 4 up through the Lodge of Perfection and on and on and on. Because that's the entire thought process. That embodies the entire arc. The first 3 are the first arc, but there's a larger arc of progression. Same thing in the York Rite. The first 3 is 1, good for you. Now, that second arc is for sure intimately tied. The other 2, yes, but they're kind of added on. But definitely, we should look at our new guys and direct them to whatever's tied to their craft first, if we were to be honest with ourselves, so that subjective development of our perception and openness and reception of what goes on with that sacred space will be more fruitful, because we're following one arc of thought. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, it does.
I got a comment, John. Well, 2 comments. Was that, or do you ever follow Chris, or you?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
That was a
okay.
very
So
complete answer.
first thing was, it's interesting when you mentioned how like we cut off the Swedish rite and some of these other rites came along, and this is where we don't know for absolute certainty, but
I know where you're going.
those rites came along after the Grand Lodge, first Grand Lodge was established.
Yes.
However, everything in the Scottish Rite, the Ecosse degrees and other things, that supposedly these other degrees existed and were practiced in England and Scotland and Ireland, but they weren't adopted when they created the Grand Lodge. And then some argue that the Master Mason's degree, specifically the Hieronymic legend, was tacked on after the Grand Lodge was founded. And then there's the Noachites to say it was the Noah legend. But the point is, you know, the 3 degrees, what's interesting as someone who studied this much about all the other rites, and there's like 24 different rites in Europe. Well, I know that I was able to find easily, let me put it that way. As just a novice, I was able to stumble across a dozen or so. I never heard of Memphis Mizraim until I gave that talk, and people were like, well, what about this? So unless you're living in Europe,
talk to Glenn Cook if you want to talk about the multiplicity of rites.
Yes. So, but the point is, every single Masonic rite that I've come across, not rituals, but rites, all of them have entered apprentice, fellowcraft, and master mason.
Yes.
Although they occasionally tweak one of the title. I think fellowcraft changes something else once in a while. But they all of them have those 3. All of them
concept
across the board. So
yes.
the other thing was a sacred space. Go back to what Brother Tripp said. I think the biggest, you can argue that there's a higher level or a deeper level of sacred space within Masonry, like within the Scottish Rite, within other bodies that you can get to. But I think the most abrupt change between the profane and Masonry is the first one. Once you're a Mason, you've stepped away from the physical world. You've stepped away from everything. That's the biggest leap. And then anything beyond that, you're just going, I guess, deeper down the rabbit hole.
Well, what's a full member in Europe? First degree.
Right.
First degree, you get the Grand Hailing sign in Europe.
Okay. Yep.
Because I saw first degree, I'm like, I mean, it's completely different from ours. I'm sitting there looking, something's not right. I'm watching this degree. And it's like, oh.
Yep.
That was one of the big differences.
And this, again, we have to tread around secrets, but I'll say one thing. You're Mr. And in the EA degree, you're a brother. And for that moment on, even when you come back as a candidate,
you're brother
to your companion and other things. But the point is, the biggest break is between Mr. and brother.
Brother, exactly. Because
then you're a brother from that point on. There, you can go deeper, but it's not as abrupt a break. Anyway, finish your point. I'm sorry.
No, that is the watershed point. But the thing I want to touch on real quick is the 1, 2, 3 being common. Yes, that's true. But don't forget, as Masonry as a movement, as it spread throughout Europe, it was picking up influences that didn't exist in England, or at least a lot.
Right.
Because when I saw the Schroeder Rite the first time, the German AFM, I'm like, this looks more like another order than it does American Masonry.
And you have that perspective to know that.
More like other stuff. Well, that's because it came by way of France, picked up a few other things. Memphis Mizraim, that's a whole ball of wax. I mean, that has a lot in it, and it's honestly a shame what happened with that. There should be, I'll say it this way, there should be regular Memphis Mizraim in America. There's no reason for it other than the political. And
interesting.
Here's the thing. These rights are important, the continental, the European rights, because they've picked up other stuff. They've actually conserved things that otherwise would have been lost.
Right. That's true. We seem to do it a lot. The Scottish Rite preserved certain degrees. The Allied Masonic degrees preserved certain forgotten side degrees. So it's like, I can't say with certainty when any of these degrees these degrees actually originate. Did they all exist in England before the first Grand Lodge? More than likely. But then appendant bodies or other rites were formed after we had a Grand Lodge. So it's like, but they were a lot of times, like you said, they were picking up degrees. How many of them were somebody started something in France after Masonry came to France, and then they rolled it up into something? And how many of them had been practiced from England for whoever knows how long? And someone said, well, let's not forget this. And they made sure that they captured it. And we may never know. We don't know our.
But here's the other thing. Let's not forget the late 18th, 19th, and early 20th century. We think the internet's the only way to, everybody kind of knows each other. Everybody kind of knew each other. I mean, Mesmer was hanging around with Cagliostro, was hanging around with Pasquale, was hanging around with, everybody hung around with each other. There was a lot of going back and forth, a lot of letter writing. I mean, if you really want to get your nails dirty, there were a lot of degrees that were mailed as basically membership patents.
Yep.
I mean, for all we scream, everything has to be hand on head, so to speak. Not everybody did it, and some of the big names didn't bother. So these guys were exchanging ideas all the time. The Louis Claire de Saint Martin, he was a Mason. Pasquale de Martinez, he was a Mason. In fact, the Lou Cohen was originally a rite of Masonry.
Huh.
And Pasquale's two students said, okay, this is a little bit too dangerous to monkey around with. One guy started what would 100 years later become Martinism. The other guy started the CBCS. William was a direct student of Pasquale. And that's why you have a Martinist CBCS, because they think that these guys were exchanging initiations.
Oh. And honestly, most even people in this call may have no idea what you're talking about. I think every Mason owes it to himself to learn more about rites. I've learned more. As much as I like to say, it's like, yeah, hey, I think it's great that you show up at a meeting and you really enjoy my talk and you pat me on the back and say, hey, that was a good talk. I enjoyed that. I got so much more out of researching this paper than any of you will ever get out of hearing me read it. And that is a true secret of Masonry, of Masonic education. You get more out of doing the research yourself because you read all this and then you condense it down to 10 to 15 minutes. But as you read more and more, it fills in more gaps. And then it becomes like the first time I do a paper on something, I don't know anything about it. And then I learn about it. And then I do one paper and I do another paper and I do another paper. I have this conversation and I'm able to pull in all those bits and pieces that I learned on my own and tie them into what you're talking about. So it fills in more of the gaps. I wonder about that, John, just as an educational thing, like, because I'm focused on learning so much IT stuff. It's all that. It's like, how much can you learn in college that you learn enough in college to pass the next test, right? You learn enough in college to pass the next quiz. And then sometimes it's just forgotten. And then you build up some knowledge, and I'm sure some educator can set it straight better than I'm fumbling through it, but you build up a body of knowledge within your head that when you have a conversation like, oh yeah, that's just like XYZ, like where'd that come from? The more we learn, the easier it is to have these conversations and to explore more about it. Every Mason should know more about European rites. We really should. And it expands your mind on, oh wow, I thought Masonry was just what's practiced in my little lodge here in Podunk, Virginia, whatever, but
I never thought
so much more.
Guys, I've met guys that take that line in the degree work, there will be no additions, alterations, or whatever, and they think it's literal.
Right.
And it's like, we have God knows how many rights. Don't you think those are additions and alterations? But that also leads to one of the differences between the Europeans and the Americans. The Americans memorize everything. The Europeans don't.
Wow, right. That is true.
But here's the thing. The Americans have a very good broad understanding of Masonry that the Europeans generally don't. No. We know, well, in this sense, because we memorized it, we know all 3 degrees like the back of our hands.
That's true.
And then if you go through, and you know this, if you go through the as an officer, you learn all that stuff by memory. The Europeans, the master will be, everybody will be sitting with a book on their desk and blah, 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 blah,
Blah, blah.
blah. But what you'll see over here.
No, it's blah, blah, you heretic.
Oh, that's right. No. Wait, what was it from the Snoopy cartoons? Wah, 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 wah.
That's right.
Wah, wah, wah.
This is Alkmaar. Yes.
The Europeans will read it, but when they do the education system of the candidates, 1 to 3, what I've seen is they write papers for each degree.
I would love to see that.
Number 1.
I would get run out of town if I suggested Mason should write a paper before being advanced.
Oh yeah, I know. Number 2, at least in Bulgaria, I don't know if it's in the other countries, but in Bulgaria, you have to attend your lodge's meetings as an entered apprentice, and then when you're a fellow craft, you have to attend meetings at 6 other lodges on top of that.
Interesting.
So, because there's 3 rites worked in Bulgaria: the German AFM, Scottish Rite, and emulation.
Okay.
So you get these kids writing, they don't memorize, but they write papers and they visit all these lodges, and they have to show up or they're not going to advance. So while the Americans have a very good broad understanding, which makes it easier for us to go into our pendant bodies, the Europeans will have a very deep understanding of 1 or 2 things. So they're, in a lot of ways, I think that leads to how we evolved as forms of Masonry. Because the Americans are very fraternal, very ritual oriented. The Europeans are more philosophically oriented, where they'll research, and I mean they'll research. So they'll have a deeper understanding, but they won't have that broad understanding.
Very interesting. I got to think about that. You bring up a fascinating idea. I hadn't really considered that. We memorize, and many other Grand Lodges do not, especially Europeans. Memorization, and for me, it's because it's the way I was brought up. Of course you memorize. Of course you know your part. And we are very critical if the master can't be bothered to learn how to open and close that. And that's distracting in a way, because when you're opening the meeting, like you talk about sacred space, right? We're supposed to be getting into the flow. We're going through the it is called ritual for a freaking reason. We're building something. We're going through an invocation of sorts. And half the time, the guys who are learning it are like, okay, Kurt's opening the meeting, so I'm going to mouth along the words with everything you'll see. So because I'm learning, because I'm senior warden and I'm going to be master next year, so I'm watching Kurt and I'm not listening to what he's saying. I'm simply repeating the words to see if I know them, right? And when Kurt makes a mistake, as he always does, I'm going to point out, hey, Kurt, I get distracted because he said something wrong. He gave the wrong question or answer. And how are you building a sacred space if you're obsessing with his ritual's not perfect?
Well, here's another one. Here's another one. The Hiramic part of the 3rd degree, where it's basically a stage play.
Yes.
The candidates, without going into detail, the candidate is there.
Yes.
And we're so busy racing through our lines so that the old grumpy past master, not that I would ever be that way. No, never, not once. The old grumpy past master's so quick to correct the guy when he makes a 1-word mistake. That actually screws up the experience for the candidate.
Right. You should never interrupt in the middle. But then again, you should have your part memorized, because it takes you out of it. Because if you forget your part, some of us are practiced enough at screwing up that we'll just keep on going. And that's what I tell you. If you get it wrong, just keep on rolling, because only a few of us are paying attention. Just get through it.
That's
I will never have a candidate come back and say, but when I got this degree, now I'm learning my catechism, you said this before we went to the altar. He's not going to remember the specific words. So
I will tell you, I've initiated guys in several different orders, and I've learned the hard way. The candidate isn't even listening to what you're saying. They're in so much of a,
right. They're just experiencing.
Yeah.
They will remember if the guy flubbed his line and there was silence for like a minute before he kept going. They'll remember the old cranky guy on the sidelines correcting him. They won't remember if he got a word wrong that he didn't even notice. If you speak with confidence and authority, they're going to assume that you're letter perfect. As long as it flows, that's why it's a performance. But
yeah, I mean, our lodge secretary posted everybody, and he was big on word to word. But when I became master, he made me, before I could do any degree work, even though I was master, he's like, I will make your life miserable if you overstep this. You're not obligating anybody until I'm satisfied.
Huh.
Okay, fine. So I proved I could do it, and he's like, now, you need to remember something else. Unless if it's a very important part of, unless if it's a part of the obligation, and you miss it, don't panic, just continue. He's like, I only have the habit of correcting somebody if they mess up the obligation. That is important.
Right.
Everything else you can figure out.
True.
When you're saying that the Europeans have you write a paper before advancing to the next degree, is it a very specified paper, like it has to be showing mastery of the material from that degree you just went through, or how,
It depends. It depends. I know one jurisdiction where they have, I wrote their education system, where they, I wrote a question for each degree for them and expand on that. But what I've seen more often than not is the topics decided between the student and the mentor. See, that's the other thing. How much do we mentor our guys in the States? I'm not saying posting. Huh? Yeah.
What's that?
I'm not saying posting. I'm saying mentoring.
Yep. Oh, the coach is the mentor. It's fine. That gets into a whole nother discussion.
Oh, that's a whole ball of wax. See, but that's the thing. There's ways you don't have to mentor guys at the lodge hall. You can take them to a local bar.
Sure.
Have a beer or whatever and discuss that's what I do. Because you're relaxed, you're having a drink, you're having fun, and you talk about whatever order it is. There's actually a fun, I came up with a fun name for one of them, which I'll tell you off the air.
Yeah. Okay, it's coming up on 11:30, so anybody else have a chance to ask a question? You didn't get a chance to ask one. Anyone? Going once? Okay. John, I really appreciate it. I think there was a really good talk, and we could go down a lot of rabbit holes, but I tried to keep us mostly on topic, but we did pretty good. I wanted to announce for coming up, and if you're watching us on YouTube, again, like and subscribe. Samoda B, amen. I'm going to start doing that. Please like and subscribe. Samoda B, amen. That's our only ritual. In June, we have a whole bunch of stuff that 3 or 4 you can show up at. So probably, John, I don't expect you to be able to make it, but let's see. A. Douglas Smith Lodge of Research is next Saturday. And then the 31st, June 7th, is George Washington Lodge of Research. I'm going to try and make an effort to visit them. And then I will have, except for Civil War, I will have visited every lodge in Virginia, every research lodge. I'm going to visit all of you all once this year, my plan. Richmond Randolph on the 14th, I will be the guest speaker, speaking about Masonic symbolism in Mozart's music and the opera The Magic Flute that Brother Joel Bundy wrote. And I'll be happy to present that at Richmond Randolph. And then the Grand Master's official visit in Winchester will be on the 28th, and I'm really looking forward to that. And then Civil War Lodge of Research, and I'm not sure where, probably in some other state on July 12th. So back-to-back, a lot of other research lodges meeting in June. So we won't have any unstated. That's why I mentioned it. We're not going to have any Zooms until July 19th. And Brother Brendan Kine, who has been a speaker here before, will speak on Scottish Freemasonry, where it all began. So, continuation of some things we talked about here, John. So anyway, that's what we got going up, coming up here in the Zoom meetings. Thank you everyone for coming out. I appreciate everyone who continues to attend. We've been doing this 5 years, and I'll keep going as long as people keep showing up. but we had 10 people today, so that's a good turnout right now, but I'm worried about the attendance. I want more people to be exposed to this, but if you can make it, watch a YouTube meeting later. We'd love to have you come watch us on YouTube, and hopefully you get something out of this. And fun things are coming with the website. I won't say more until I have it up and running, but I'm working on some new things with the website to kind of modernize that too. It's all illegal, every bit of it. That's why I have to take my time. I'm going to be hosting it out of Bahrain, so that way I can post whatever I want. And so this former Mason will be hosting in about 6 months. But
Only if you get caught.
That's right. That's right. So I'll be sure not to put it on the internet. We'll be able to play it back at my trial.
No, jurisdiction can't be exerted past 30 miles.
That's true. That's true. I'll just get a boat and sit off the coast of Virginia and broadcast. That's the pirate Zoom meetings. All right. Anything else before we wrap it up? Good to see Brother Peter joined us late. And Brother Ivan, who joined us late. Sorry I didn't get to talk to you earlier. Thanks for joining us. And Brother Aday, I saw you sneak in there. Good to have you with us.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you. Great talk.
Brother Aday's been with us since the very earliest of this. So I remember those who've been here a long time, and it's great. Like I said, it's great that it's like we have a community here that keeps going. It's on a different level, totally separate from our lodges and everything else. This Zoom community that we have is really special, and that's why I want to keep going, because I see you guys. I've only seen you like this, but we're brothers. It's kind of cool. It's a sacred space, John.
I should pick on Brother Petter.
Yes.
He and I and a bunch of the brothers here, we get together informally. That's what I was talking. He's involved in our little bar discussion group.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he's one of the reasons it actually took off.
Oh, good. Well, he's just sitting there looking cool with his profile pic, so he's not gonna destroy the illusion and pop up.
not in video. At the moment.
Look, you got the coolest profile pic here. Even though Milos has a really nice picture of the owl and all that other stuff, I think I like that. But so Peter's rocking it with the shades there. So there you go.
Thank you.
But hey, not everybody can be smoking a cigar in their profile pic. So I need to update that because that's out of date. That's out of date. I need my newer one with me with my 33rd ring. But
excuse us, the hoi polloi.
Yes. Well, as you see there, I got my 2 rings. I tell people that I'm going to stop wearing those 2 rings. That's a Blue Lodge ring and my 14th degree ring. And as soon as I got my 33rd, I stopped wearing it. So here, I'll go and show you.
Me. I'm sorry. Did you say that again?
What's that?
I'm teasing you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you say that again?
But
you're missing a Bloody Mary.
Well, I have Bloody Marys too, but I didn't want to embarrass you. But I can. Let me do one more thing before we break. I was going to say I updated things. Yeah, it was for me. I mean, this stuff is. I mean, we talk about rings and all that, right? But I've worn that Blue Lodge ring. I never got a past master's ring because I didn't think it was that important to have one. I like the Blue Lodge one, and on my 14th degree Scottish Rite ring, like forever and a day. But where's my good one? One sec.
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned several times about YouTube and watching from YouTube, but when I go to the website, I see that the videos there were not updated since several months. I think I'm missing something. When are you uploading the videos there?
The most recent one should only be a month old at most. Well, we'll go check. Well, here's my recent pic that I replaced with. See, I got the 33rd going on and got my new hat. So that's my new profile pic. But the point is, I bought a 33rd degree ring to wear all the time. That's why I was talking about that. Because let me come back here. There. I specifically bought a 33rd degree ring that I can wear every day because my Blue Lodge ring is kind of big and I type because I'm an IT guy. And I only wear it to lodge meetings, and I wanted to have something I could wear every single day. So almost every day I'm wearing my 33rd ring, and that's all I wear. But that's just me personally, has no bearing on anything else, but that's just kind of me running my mouth. But let me just look here real quick. YouTube,
Triangle in or triangle out?
triangle out so you can see it.
Uh-huh.
That's how I do it. But let me just look here. Where are you at? Typing it in. This makes great television, I know. Yeah, the most recent one, if you go to the playlist and you go to unstated meetings or uncut unstated meetings, the most recent one is 8 months ago. That's not the most recent one. I probably need to update the list. Yeah, Allegory of Plato's Cave. I got to change the order. Plato's Cave was from 3 months ago. So yeah, I got to change the order of the playlist thing because it should be the latest ones first, and I probably have them in out of order.
Yeah, sorry to bring that up. I just missed a few talks, and like this time I came on later and missed the lecture, so I would like to catch up.
Oh, totally. Now, you bring up a valid point, and I got, you don't hear that music? Can y'all hear that music? Okay,
No.
This is me. I have my Mozart plays in the beginning. If you look, in fact, I'll just share, because this is what we're doing now. That one. Am I sharing? You guys see that? Am I sharing? Wait. There. Okay. Can y'all see the?
Yep.
Okay. You see here. Well, yeah. Hang on, I got those things in the way. So here's the Lodge website, or the the YouTube channel for the Research Lodge. If you go here to playlists, okay, your jurisdiction may vary, is just stuff that I've done along the way. They're fairly short clips. Unstated meetings are the ones that are edited, that I've gotten down under 45 minutes. There's 10 of them. Uncut unstated meetings, there's 78. So if you go to that one, that's all of them, and it's going to start playing that one. That's from 8 months ago. So I need to rearrange that because it should be the most recent one there. But the uncut one has all of them. The unstated meetings has the ones that I have cut. So I'll just share that because I don't have time to go back and do them all, but I'm trying to work my way through and cut them down a little bit and actually break them up into like 15-minute bits if I can. That's time consuming, and if I had nothing else to do in my life but edit videos, I'd have more to do. But my goal is to take a lot of those and make them like 15-minute increments to encourage more people to watch. That's just something I'm working on myself. It's just I want to try and make our YouTube more accessible.
Ooh, of course, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. And so when I get paid to do it, it's when I have time I do it. I have more parts and things I'm trying to learn to do that are occupying my time, but it's kind of like I wish I should spend like an hour a week on just YouTube just to clean it up. But anyway, I'm still working, as I mentioned earlier. It's like, do I want to grow the number of people watching our unstated meetings? Do I want to get more Virginia Masons to be more active in attending these meetings? Do I want to get more international people involved in these meetings? Do I want to get different speakers? Do I want to attract a YouTube audience and get more people just watching the videos and not attending the meetings? So there's like 100 different ways we can move this effort, and I don't know which one to pursue. So that's what I've been trying to sort out for a while now, is what's the audience I'm after with this, right? And that's kind of where I run my mouth at these things, like where are we going with this, and what I want to take it to. That's kind of why I'm constantly thinking about that. I'm always thinking about it, and I don't have an answer yet. So just sharing a little inside baseball. That's where my mind is going at the time, is how can I grow this and make it more useful, and what be the better benefit? Getting more Masons to come watch, get them under an hour because no one's going to sit and watch a YouTube video for an hour. I don't know. Honestly, I think you guys would sit here for an hour or more and hear the talk and be able to interact. Then you would want to just sit and watch it later on. I may be wrong. If you're going to sit and watch a video where you can't participate, I would think you'd want to be shorter because you might lose interest. If you're sitting here watching it, you know you can't fast forward, and you know you have a chance to interact and ask questions. So I think you'd stay longer, right? John could talk for an hour online, and we're all sitting at home, so everybody's comfortable in our cars, 2 or 3 of you, and we're going to let you talk longer. If we were in lodge, if you were running more than 20 minutes, I'm going to say, hey, I'll play the music and get you off stage. Because you're not going to you're not going to pay attention more than 20 minutes on the lodge meeting, right? But here on YouTube, here on Zoom, you could talk for an hour, and if you're interesting, we're right there with you.
20 minutes, you're lucky I pay attention for 5.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, but
I really enjoy those discussions after the lecture, because even though I'm not participating at the moment and I'm driving to somewhere, I love to hear all the brothers' insights on them. That's very interesting and helpful too.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I'm glad someone's getting something out of it. I say that to say that basically I'm constantly thinking about this venue and this medium and this amazing technology I have available to me that I'm putting to hopefully good use, and how can I improve it, and never just say, okay, that's good enough. I want it to be better. I want to have more of a lasting impact than, oh, well, we did Zoom meetings during COVID and then we stopped and we never came back to it. And a whole bunch of those of you who've been doing this all this time, there were several groups that were out there that had videos all the time during COVID, and they all just basically stopped because people went back to lodge. So it's kind of like, was the only purpose to give you something to do because you couldn't physically go to a lodge meeting? Or was there a deeper thing that we're accomplishing? Or is it going to be like 50 years from now, and this is going to revolutionize Masonry? Somebody's going to dig up all these YouTube. This was on this old archaic website called YouTube, back before we had the brain chips implanted, whatever. Somebody's going to come back in 50 years, and this will be like the biggest thing in the world. Go figure. I don't know. Probably not. But that's where my mind goes. So anyway, and I'm always open to suggestions. If any of any ideas what we can do to make it different, to make it better, to grow, reaching more of a bigger audience. Are we fine where we are? I always love feedback, because it's all what's going on in this little brain right here. And I'm not always right, but I'm at least active. Right? I may not be right, but I'm productive. How about that? Anyway. Anyway, this week's therapy session is over. I appreciate y'all hanging out and letting me vent. John, it was really good to have you here. I'll probably cut half of this from the YouTube, so I don't know. But so good to have you all. That's why there's a full length, because I leave most of it in, but then, half the stuff I cut out. I don't know.
So you mean I could have sat here and been a little bit more vibrant, and it would have been safely gone?
Oh, well, no, everything you say is recorded, and I forward it to the Grand Lodge when we're done to make sure they have evidence for your trial.
No, trust me. They know how I talk. They know how I think. Believe me.
Well, so far I've only gotten one call from a sitting grandmaster warning me about what I'm saying. So I need to up that average. Those are rookie numbers. I need to keep working on.
Come on.
I want every grandmaster to be calling me. What are you talking about now? So we shall see. Like I said, former Mason signing off. Yeah,
only one. Lightweight.
Just be careful talking about the chamber reflection. Shh.
Oh, you want to hear the backstory behind that?
Another time. Another time.
Yeah.
When I'm not recording.
I'm not saying where, but I was in the room for. Okay, we're going.
Another time. All right. Thank you all for coming, and I'm just vamping, so this is so much fun. I really enjoy this. I really am glad you guys are here, in all seriousness, and I joke around a lot, but this is interesting and therapeutic for me. So thank you all for saving me in therapy. So y'all have a wonderful day. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.